being a dues paying member to the club. I introduced them to my team. I talked to them about my dad and how he was the founder of our business. I talked to them about my staff and how we want to deliver wow service. I talked to them a little about what they can expect from our team and the difference that we bring. And of course, this is just sort of lingo-y stuff, right? Like, we have a passion for helping people. I want to do a great job for you. I'm very enthusiastic. This is like, it's like the best thing I can tell you to be at the kitchen table is enthusiastic. People love enthusiasm. When you show a love of the art of real estate, it shows. People can see it. They can read you like a book at their kitchen table. And so I always go in, I mean, like, I go in like, I used to have like a prep talk in the car. Like, I'm going to be enthusiasm no matter what kind of shit is bogging me down today. I want to go in with a huge dose of enthusiasm. And that actually, you know, feels, sometimes it's like, you know, that you've got an inspection falling apart, or you've got a low appraisal, or you've got a, you know, a health issue, or there's something else going on. The best thing you can do is just table that for a hot minute and get in there and show up enthusiastically for people. So the rest of this talks about our staff and a little write-up from each of us. You can see that for each of our write-ups here, it's just a little bio. I leave this book. You heard it. I leave this book with everybody I meet with. I do not take the book away. I leave the book. And I say, I'm going to leave this for you. You ever can't fall asleep at night, you just pick this sucker up, put you right to bed, and they laugh. Try and kind of start out with some humor, trying to ease in, talk a little about, and I tell people, I'm going to talk a little about myself. I'm going to talk a little about the business. I'm going to talk a little bit about the market. And then I'm going to let you do a little talking and tell me what you'd like for me to help you accomplish. And so, yes.
Amanda. So we're only seeing the mission statement piece still. Have you moved on from that?
Yeah, it's not moving forward on your.
Un momento, por favor.
Okay, Pete might be running back in. There you go, perfect.
So actually what you guys missed was all this up here. Okay, so the mission statement was there. And then I talk about why hire a realtor, right? We talked about that. That was what I was talking about. No wonder you were all like looking at me, checking your emails. And then I talk a little about the team. So this is the other part you missed, and that we have a passion for the business. I talk a little about my dad and my start in the business. We give some client testimonials here. Y'all can see this? The screen is now rolling for you guys?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
And so each agent has a profile and their contact information. Each agent has some testimonials, okay? So we talk a little about the team, and I talk about my partners in the business as business partners. So everybody who works in our little baby organization here, DeVito Dreammakers, lists and sells. So all of us are buyers agents and listing agents. And so I don't run a traditional team in the way that you might hear from Keller Williams, because I actually don't believe that those are the kinds of teams that become long-standing. I think those are a high turnover, high volume, low connection business model. And so for me, one of the greatest pieces of advice I could give you today would be to actually partner up with somebody else in this business that you can rely on to help show properties, that you can rely on to mastermind, that you can rely on with to sort of be an accountability partner. And I really want you to seek this out, because people often say to me, Amanda, you're so good. How'd you get so good? And I think part of it is that I've processed out loud my whole career with somebody else. So when I got into the business, Dad and Jerry and I talked about stats every week. Every week we talked about market statistics. I looked at stats every week of my career, for real. How many houses were on the market? What the average price was that.
And I think I lost your audio. Can you guys hear her?
No, screen froze.
Yeah. Amanda?
Yeah, her video and audio both froze.
Yeah, yay, huh? Technology is so good. The bane of our existence. It's a blessing and a bane in disguise. a lot of agents, by the way, guys, do like a pre-listing package too. I know a number of folks who, even before they sit down, will send out, and a lot of it has information and questions, what's important to them, you know, have, wants, needs, and needs, wants, wishes lists, that sort of thing. And then I have a couple of examples. If you guys want to email me and get that, I am happy to share with you some of the things. This is from when I was long time ago, when I was working with a specific speaker, and this individual did it on every listing he went out. He actually hand delivered a pre-listing package. And they worked. See if she's back. Email me. Don't put it in chat, guys, please. Please email me, kimhawkins@remax.net. Because otherwise, if, as you can see in the chat, it goes on and on when we have this many people on, and I will lose track of it because my brain can't handle all that. So I'd be grateful.
Yeah, Kim, she's no longer on.
Yeah, I know. I think she's probably trying to get back on. So sorry, guys. It's the Shannon and I went through that. We were teaching fast training a couple of months ago, and it was my Zoom, and my connectivity went kaput on us. It was great. Right in the middle of fast training. So this stuff happens. It's, again, part of the world that we're in right now. It's okay. How do you do anything like this? You know, I know this one has particularly 181 pages. Yes, I am recording it. Does anybody do anything like this type of package? Ah, she's back. Yay.
So the entire internet in the Ward Road building is down.
Well, yay. That means I'll be getting an email of some sort.
It's so funny. I was like, why? It was like trying to get on, trying to get back on. And then Lana came in and she's like, both networks are down, the building's down. I was like,
yay. Okay, well, I'll open a ticket on that. I'll just open a ticket right now. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, guys, shall we keep going here?
Let's do it.
Okay.
The last thing we heard, Amanda, was that you look at stats every week, the number on the market, average price, and then you went
dead. Okay. So, you know, for me, this art of accountability is just so huge in the business, right? You guys understand the reason for that, right? So when my internet went down, I shut everything down thinking my computer was just running too hard, which it probably was, but okay. So I talk a little about myself. I talk a little bit about my team. I talk a little bit. And so this was my plea to you to also just to, you know, become, you know, get a business partner and that kind of thing. Okay. And then I put in here a few accolades. So I also add in here any place where I can sort of give myself an attaboy. Listen, I think all real estate agents have to have a little tiny scotch of narcissism or ego to be any good at this business. I will tell you, I try to approach it humbly. I say, you know, I'm very humbled. I am a super servant in this industry. I love to give of my time. You know, that has returned for me in so many wonderful ways in the business. And so when I'm talking about some of the things that I've achieved in my career or some of just the nods, and I put all the nods in. So if I got just a little bump from the Chamber of Commerce, or if I got a recognition for, you know, whatever, I put it all in the book. Okay. And you can blow through the pages more quickly for people who know you well, but for people who don't know you well, they want to see that you're accomplishing things, because people like doing business with somebody who's going to get something done, right? Isn't that the old adage? You want something done, give it to a busy person. And so I like to talk about, I'm going to see if this internet is working again. Nope. Okay. So so I put my attaboys in there and all of my little accolades. So I did a couple little My First Place episodes with HGTV. I was Realtor Magazine 30 Under 30 when I was under 30, which was more than 10 years ago. And so I put that stuff in the book. Okay. And then, and I just kind of blow past it. I do have a sheet here, which I wish I could show you. Actually, I'm going to turn this around and show this to you guys. Okay. So this page here says all real estate people are not created equally. When choosing a realtor, consider the following. And I tell my clients, DeVito Dreammakers, as a RE/MAX agent, there are 130,000 sales associates in 118 countries. We qualify for the top 0.005 of those people. We qualified for a new club within the RE/MAX organization this year called Pinnacle. So there's the Executive Club, the 100% Club, the Platinum Club, the Titan Club, the Chairman, then Titan, then Diamond, then Pinnacle. Okay. That's a lot of real estate. That's all that means. And so what I tell people is I'm a member of RE/MAX's Hall of Fame. I'm a member of their Lifetime Achievement Award. And I tell them how many respective people have earned these. So inside the RE/MAX Hall of Fame, there's only 28,000 affiliated agents worldwide that hold this professional award. The Lifetime Achievement Award winners, there's 7,900 Lifetime Achievement Award winners. And my most recent accolade is that I was the 2020 Circle of Legends inductees. There's 630 inductees into the Circle of Legends. That's a minimum of 10 years with the RE/MAX organization. So I tell people these things. And then I also go on to show them all of my professional designations here. So the accredited buyer representative, so on and so forth. I say to people, I don't care how much you know until I know how much you care. A quote from John C. Maxwell. For me, this is about making sure that they understand that I realize them moving. And I talk a little about myself here, but them moving is the most important thing going on for them. The Council of Residential Specialists puts out a SLIC. This just says a certified residential specialist. I tell people this is kind of like having a PhD for a real estate agent. It's the highest residential designation I can receive. I'm an accredited buyer representative. If you've been a buyer's agent 5 times, you can sit for the ABR. This is an NAR designation. So if you guys are looking to build your credentials, this is something that you can do, is become an ABR. And then the next tab in the book, and as you know, here my desk is such a mess, but I want you to see this. These are tabbed in here about the team, the marketplace, the buyer process, right? Got it? So in the marketplace is where I kick on to this next section here. And I have this all set up digitally because I had to. So we talk a little about Jefferson economic profiles. I wonder if the internet's back because this is annoying for all of us. Nope, turns out not. Okay. So I talk about Jefferson County, which is where I do most of my business. It talks about population and jobs. It talks about business and industry. There's a piece of information here about property taxes. This gives me a chance to talk about special taxing districts and metro districts, how the mill levies. And this is an important conversation in my neck of the woods because we have a lot of special districts in our area. It talks about real estate and transportation and education. So these are interesting conversations that buyers and sellers want to know about. So this is all in the packet. And this is, I pulled this down from the Jefferson Economic Council. Can you all see this? And so this is just information I get from them. They put it out in the summer of each year. I talk about being a RE/MAX agent, that RE/MAX agents sell more houses than our competition. You guys know where to find this. I just find this on our site. It just compares RE/MAX agents with their production against our competition. And then I talk about real estate statistics. These are just Excel graphs that I keep up each month. And I'm pulling this data from the back end of RE Colorado. So I talk about where inventory was at, where inventory has been in the last 10 years. And now this deep, you can see this deep cross in inventory right here, just shows that inventory has gotten remarkably low. I talk about that there are 4 pieces of information that dictate the health of the market. The first of those 4 pieces of information that dictate the health of the market is residential inventory. Inventory is how many for sale signs you see in front yards. And so this is 5 years worth of data. There's a 1,998 single family homes for sale in the greater Denver MLS as of the end of January. That number is actually down 61%. So I show the percent of change. I show condo inventory and how deeply the condo inventory has dropped. I show days on market. So the second piece of information that dictates the health of the real estate market is days on market. I talk about condo and residential days on market. The third piece of information that dictates the health of the real estate market is number of sales. So this is how many houses close each month. You guys, all of this data is available through RE Colorado. You can also grab it from the CAR. CAR does great stats every year, and so does each month, and so does DMAR. Actually, some of your title reps are tracking some of this really well for us too. And then the fourth piece of information that dictates the health of the real estate market is average price. So those are your four things: inventory, days on market, number of sales, and average price. So those are the things you'd like. That's the stuff I track. I feel like if I'm tracking that, I have a pretty good gauge of where the market's at each month. You know, I do a weekly poll, and then I do redo these charts each month. Okay. So what digs into the next part of the packet here is this buyer process. And so we just talk about, this is where I dig into what you can expect from me as your buyer's agent, the steps to buying, how to navigate the buying process. We talk about the consultation. Okay, so it's at this time when I'm sitting with a buyer that I pull out a sheet that says, you know, what do you want to buy? And I'll go through this quickly. I actually saved this for the end. So I pulled the sheet out, I set it aside, and I keep going through the package. But here's the things that I like to ask, or here's the way I ask the questions when I'm consulting a buyer. I say stuff like, okay, are we talking about a single family detached home only, a condo, a townhouse, or something attached? What are you looking for? Start with the house. And I say, okay, describe to me minimum bedrooms and bathrooms, right? So then they say 3 bed, 2 bath. I write that down, and I write this down. I have this clipboard here. I'm going to show it to you because I think it's important. It's blue, it's branded, and it goes everywhere with me. When your clients see you writing, I think they value you more. So when they see you taking notes about what's important to them, I think they feel more heard. I think everybody sort of feels like that in general, right? So I sit down and I take notes. Okay, so 3 bed, 2 bath. And I actually have a little sheet in this packet that guides that, and I can send that out. So, you know, what kind of house are you looking for? How many bedrooms? How many bathrooms? Do you need a garage? What's your price? Now, you guys, the market's going to change. There's going to be a time again in the future where people care if they have a 2-car garage versus a 1-car garage. Right now, they'll take anything they can get their hands on. But so build the criteria as open as possible, given limited supply of inventory right now. But in the future, you want to know, you know, what do they need in their house? We'd really like a fireplace. We'd really like a 2-car garage, right? So I build all of this criteria for them. And it's okay for them to tell you all of this, even in these market conditions, and say, build for me the perfect house on paper. If you do that for them, then they feel heard. And if you end up in a little mid-century house and it has a fireplace and you're like, yes, they wanted a fireplace and I found them one, then you know that you've met something that's been important to them in the process, or you found something that's important to them. And then at the very, very end, so I have them build this perfect house on paper. And then I say, okay, let's pick the house up and put it on paper. I mean, put it on a lot. So I pick the house up, put it on a lot. They say, we really like a big lot. We'd really like a small lot. I really don't want to be any yard work at all. Or I really want to have horses. So I pick the house up once they describe it and I say, okay, put it on the perfect lot. And so, and I guide them. So people say like, well, we have to have it fenced. And I'll say, or you mean you have to be able to fence it? And they'll say, yeah, we have to be able to fence it. And then from there, I'll say, okay, how much? How much is too much? Because for us, the litmus test is, what are they putting into Zillow? So if they're putting in 800,000 for Zillow and you're only searching up to 700 for them, you're missing houses that they are seeing. And so I explained to them about MLS. I call it the magic listing system. When I'm at the appointments, I explained to them that all the real estate agents get together and they enter all the data into the magic listing system. And it's the magic listing system that basically pushes all that data out to Zillow. So I talk about data feeds and how their house is going to find its way into the internet, how houses find their way into the internet. And I explained to them that if you're looking up to 800 and I'm only looking up to 700 in the magic listing system, you and I are not communicating well. And so I actually like to set a back-end portal up in the MLS and Iris, a hot sheet or a portal search in MLS or Iris. And I do that because I want to see what they're seeing. And I explained to them, I know that these emails can feel kind of spammy. I don't want you to feel like you're being spammed. So if the frequency isn't working for you, or if you don't feel like the information is yielding what you want, just pick up the phone and call. And then I talked to them about, at this point, we've already had a conversation about inventory. So they know that there's a chance when I hit their email box, there may only be one house that meets their criteria. And so I just sort of set that temperament for people. Okay. So we talk about building the perfect house on paper. I talk about picking the house up, putting it on a lot, and then I pick the house up and put it in a neighborhood. So I'll tell them, what's the furthest street to the north you'll go? Because, often people are like, well, where do you want to live? No, sometimes they're easy. They'll be like, I just want to live in Arvada, or I just want to live in Golden, or I just want to live in Fort Collins proper. But I say, how far north will you go? What street is too far north for you? And then what street is too far south for you, and east and west? So I build that perfect geographic area. And I write all this down and I highlight the map. I have a map in here that I pull out and I draw on the map. So then I leave with a written criteria and a written map. And that's sort of our agreement that that's the portal search I'm going to set up for them. So it's very helpful. Okay. So we talk about their budget. We talk about, this is an opportunity for me to talk about mortgage, the financing piece with them, talking about how to get pre-qualified. Now let's find your dream home. So this is the sheet I tear out of the book that is just property type, area, bed, bath, square footage, cars, car storage, style, acreage, fireplace, and some other very specific things. And then here's that northeast, southwest boundary. So I can draw that map for them. And then I pull the map out and I point on here, you know, where do you want to be? How far north is too far north? How far south is too far south, etc. And then we talk about features, desired features, you know, some other things that are important to them. And depending on people's budget, depends on what they're really looking for. But for the most part, people are pretty, their criteria are pretty open right now. I can remember when there was 23,000 houses. You guys can probably remember too, when there were so many houses for sale that I would literally put in fireplace, you know, 2-car garage plus. I would be putting in a dining room. Somebody's like, well, I really want a dining room. I was like looking for any criteria I could to eliminate houses so that there weren't so many in their search. Wouldn't that be a glorious day again? Okay. I talk about the Builder Realty Council, BRC. Those of you who are in the business in here in Denver may know that BRC is the sort of relationship between the builders and realtors. It's the agreement that the builders are going to pay us a cooperating commission. I realize those are under siege right now. Don't worry about it. They'll come back. Okay. I'm going to move a little faster here because I could just talk too much. Somebody shut me up already. Okay. And then I want to tell you, so at the bottom of this buyer section, so we talk about closing and inspection, appraisal, and I talk about all the stuff. I actually give them a sample buyer agency agreement. I tell them that the next time we talk, I'm going to ask you if you'd like to hire me as your buyer's agent. And then I build a buyer agency agreement for them. And I kick that out at the time that I set up the portal search, in theory. Right. So when we set up the portal search, we send out a buyer agency agreement for somebody who's actively, and I give them a sample of the buyer agency. Like, people want to see these forms before things get really crazy for them. So I think it's important that we show them these forms in our initial consultation. Okay. And then I put the RE/MAX Alliance buyer disclosure with it. Then I get to a section of the package that's called seller process. And over here in the book, it's the tab that says seller process, right? Buyer process, seller process. And I talk about my quality service guarantee for a home seller, the things that they can expect that I'm going to do for them. Still no internet in the building, in case you guys wondered. Steps to selling. So we talk about, you know, negotiating appraisal. This is a time where we can talk about how we're going to manage inspection, how we're going to manage maybe appraisal gaps. I talked to them about what appraisal gaps are and all the stuff we talked about last week, right? You guys have those tools. So then for a seller, we talk about determining value, preparing a comprehensive market analysis, pricing your house and why pricing is so important. Although I jokingly talk to my sellers right now about how my crystal ball is foggy. We talk about preparing your home. I professionally stage my listings. Sometimes that's with their own furniture. Sometimes that's with somebody else's furniture. So we talk about the benefit of staging. This is a piece of material I get from a Hanley Wood Media. Basically, it just says, people often ask me if they should renovate a bathroom or renovate a kitchen. And in this market, y'all, your sellers don't need to do anything. So if people are like, should we replace carpet? Should we redo these countertops? I mean, maybe carpet, but at this point, I think that the market is so primed to go nuts that they almost don't need to do anything to sell the house. Now, we all know that if a house is a cream puff, a really nice piece of property, it's going to sell better than something that's not. So not renovated or not cleaned up. And so I always tell people, you know, if they haven't done work in 30 years in their house, they're not doing it for you now. So don't push them into it. You know, people are going to do what they want to do. And if they're really hard pressed on replacing carpet and they say, we've already got the carpet guy coming, we already ordered carpet, then you just nod your head and you say, yes, carpet's a great idea. And that's certainly going to help, whatever. I talk about customized marketing, our photography and virtual tours. I talk about where their listing will show up. This is a RE/MAX Alliance piece that they used to do. Where in the world is my listing? And it talks about how we syndicate, what syndication is, and where their house is going to show up on the market. I talk about RE/MAX collection. I talk about how the showings are going to be set for them. I talk about what they can expect at inspection. Sellers are really worried about inspection. I tell all my sellers, in most cases, any inspection repairs can be resolved for $1,000 or less. And then of course, in this market, we talk about some buyers are just willing to waive their inspection. I will tell you, yesterday I talked to a client. I did this whole consultation. I bet I spent 5 hours with them at their kitchen table, and the lender kind of scared them. Actually, the lender was like, it's crazy out here. I've had like the hardest 6 weeks of my career. And I approached that meeting with a lot of just calm and information. And I made sure they understood. And I was saying things like, properties are selling for 50 and 100,000 over the asking price, like just shooting real straight with them. But it wasn't until the lender got on the phone with them that the lender scared them a little bit. So, most lenders don't do that. My lender actually is and they even said, he's great. We love him. He's, no complaints. And so it was just sort of funny that, the lenders are having some of the hardest, I think all of us are having some of the hardest weeks in our career here at the first part of 2021. So I'd like to acknowledge that for you. We talk about final walkthrough. I show them what a net sheet looks like and what they can expect from me to prepare net information, moving day checklist, and a sample seller agency agreement here. I tell people, I'll never ask you to sign anything in our first visit, even though the Division of Real Estate actually technically tells you you're supposed to have them sign something in the first visit. Division of Real Estate wants them to sign, I think it's the definitions. The first time you have a real estate conversation with somebody, the Division of Real Estate would like for you to acknowledge the definition of working relationships. If I'm wrong on that, somebody can correct me, and I can't see the chat, so blah, whatever. It is at the time when I'm presenting this sample seller agency agreement that I float right past the real estate fee for service. So I just write it in there, my fee. So compensation to brokerage firm, compensation to cooperative broker. I tell them what my fee is. I tell them that I split that commission with the buyer's agent, that's how I get paid. I don't get paid for any of the work I do up into closing. And that at the time of successful closing, if I've done my job, I get to earn a fee for service. I work on commission. That's how I feed my family. And it is sometimes at that time where people want to negotiate your fee for service, and that's the appropriate time to have that conversation. And if you guys want some scripts about fee for service, because we're all in the same company, I'm happy to share that with you at some point. And so then we talk about purchase price and terms, what stays and goes. This is my opportunity to talk to them about all this stuff. I show them the sample seller advisory from RE/MAX Alliance. And then I kick into a disclosure form section here, which is where I tell them there are 4 ways you can be working with or talking to an agent in the state of Colorado. And I define these: the seller agency, the buyer agency, transaction broker, and customer. And this is the opportunity where I take a chance to talk to them about what would happen if I brought the buyer. Let's see. I would love to hear my commission scripts. Yeah. So here's the deal.
Amanda, real quick.
Yeah.
Staging.
Say again.
You pay for staging.
Okay. I pay for a walk and talk, what's called a walk and talk, or a staging consult. Depends on which stager I sent out, which is the language that I use. But yeah, I pay for an initial walk and talk. Now, if I have a seller who is paying me a full fee for service and they are leaving a house vacant, I will stage it. And I tell them I'm going to bring furniture in. Especially if people are really pushing me for staging, I will always pay to bring the furniture in. But if they are overpricing the listing, I always tell them they have to pay for the carry. And this is where you want to be careful. Things are selling in 30 days right now, which is fine. So they place the furniture, you pay for the first month, and then I take the furniture out of it because it's sold in 5 seconds. So that's all fine. But in a different market or in different market conditions, I do not pay for the carry on the staging. If my seller is unwilling to change their price, I'm not paying for furniture each month. So I'll pay to place the furniture. And so I'll write this into the listing agreement. Listing agreement agrees to place furniture at the time of initial listing. The seller agrees to pay the rental cost for the carry. And so I have the stager send all of that to me. But right now, mostly if somebody's occupying a property, I just do a walk and talk with them. My stager will bring in what she calls an accessory package. And so sometimes houses just need art and vases and lamps and a few things. So if they have nice enough furniture, sometimes I'll just bring an accessory package in for $600 or so. And that's a good use of my money just to make it look a little sweeter. And some people have nice things. They just have too much stuff. And so in which case the stager will come in and help them thin some of that stuff out. So that's why I'm handling staging. What else is up on the question docket? commissions somebody was asking about. I would love to hear who you use for staging. I'm using Donna Browning and Megan Harold at Encore. They are just a two-man shop. Don't overwhelm them. There's also a really great gal here in Arvada. I can't think of her name right now. I don't have it handy. And she does a lovely job also. I can't think of her name offhand. Donna's mostly been doing my staging for me almost every listing.
Does it have Leah in Arvada?
No, but there's good stagers. Like, you just got to find somebody. Here's the other thing about staging. You have to know what they're going to say when they show up at your seller's house. So ain't nothing like being surprised when you've told your seller something and then the stager shows up and tells them something else. Actually, I'll tell you a funny story. I have a listing and my people decided to paint the cabinets. And so I referred them to a company called 5280. This is who paints cabinets. They do a really great job. The 5280 cabinet painter, the painter, showed up at my seller's house and was bossing them all the things about real estate. My sellers were laughing. They were like, you should have heard this painter. He was talking about inventory and the market and why you should paint your kitchen this and how it's going to get you this much percentage more for your house and all this stuff. And they were like, we couldn't help but laugh because I had sort of readied them with statistics, but the painter was trying to talk real estate with them. It was kind of funny. Okay, so you guys want to talk about, I can loosely talk about fee for service. So I charge what I would consider a full fee for service. Okay. And I agree to split that co-op commission per our company's guidelines. If somebody wants to negotiate commission, I have found that when I go through this package of information, more times than not, I actually don't need to negotiate my fee. Most people, after I've done all the work, understand there's a lot of work involved here. But every now and again, if you don't show your value and you don't provide information and you don't do a thorough market analysis and you aren't being a good advisor, they're going to try and beat you up for your fee for service. So I have found that the more work I do for them, the less pressure they put on the fee for service. Although I will tell you, in these market conditions, I feel like there's a downward pressure on commissions for sure in the business right now. That won't probably last forever. We'll see. We'll see what that plays out as. But here's the deal. There are just some people I know, 10% of people I do business with are shopping real estate agents for their fee for service. You can combat this one of a couple ways. I tell people, I know I look nice and I sound nice, but I'm a master negotiator. And if I can't negotiate my own fee for service, how would you like me to negotiate for you on your behalf when a buyer brings an offer? So you are counting on me to actually be my best negotiator. So I kind of punt the commission conversation a couple of times. I'll say stuff like, you're expecting me to handle the negotiation of the sale price of your home, except that you want me to negotiate my fee for service. So I'm going to sell your house for top dollar and I'm going to get top dollar for you. And it's going to cost you and you get what you pay for, basically. And I don't say it quite like that, but something like that, right? People often ask if I'm willing to reduce my fee if I'm doing a couple of real estate deals. So if they're buying and selling with me and I have an arrangement there, it's the same arrangement I do for everybody. And I don't give any commission rebates until after the successful second closing. So if somebody closes with me 2 deals, I actually will rebate the money at the time of the successful closing. How many times have you sold something for somebody and then they decided not to buy and you discounted your commission on the front end? Don't do it. Don't do it, because then you end up having a fit. You're pissed for starters, which is annoying. And then you end up feeling like you want to ask them for that money. You're not going to ask them for that money back after you already charged them. So at the time of the second closing, that's an appropriate time to negotiate a rebate. And that's what I call it. And actually, I'm a sort of an award kind of person. I don't know how much money I made last year or how many real estate deals I did. I mean, I do, but that's not what makes me tick. What makes me tick is like, if you're going to give me like a blue ribbon. So I like a blue ribbon. So I log all of my commissions with the RE/MAX organization, and then I give rebates if I need to. So that I can reach my award levels faster. Instead of just reducing my fee, I actually charge the fee. And then if I need to kick them back something. Is that helpful to you all? Yes. Is that what you guys wanted to know?
I didn't understand the last thing about kicking back something.
So if you're going to rebate somebody, I charge them the full fee for service on the listing agreement. And if they're doing 2 deals with me and I've agreed to rebate them money, I do not do it on the settlement statements. I only rebate the money in the form of a check after closing. Okay. Does that make sense?
I didn't know you could do that. Thanks.
You're welcome. Okay. Kim, what other chat questions are happening in the chat box since I still don't have internet? Nope, still don't have internet. Any other questions in the chat box? I can't see them on my iPhone here. I was looking for the chat box, but I can't find them. And there's so many of you, I would have to get to the end of the page. Diane Kreider. Hi, Diane. Hi, buddy. How do taxes work if you collect the commission and rebate it? I actually, on my P&L, I actually show as it shows as income. And then in my income section, there shows an income rebate. Do I offer home warranties? No, I think they're a giant waste. Home warranties for me, my clients don't like them. Like, have you guys ever had somebody, you buy a warranty for somebody and then something actually breaks in the house and then they try and call the warranty on the warranty company? And I just haven't had good luck with like my clients feeling like the warranty has been worth it. And so I just don't buy them for people. I feel like that's just a waste. I mean, I'd rather buy them a $300 bottle of wine or a bottle of whiskey or a American flag board or something else cool. I don't know, than spend money on a home warranty. What else, you guys? And you can unmute yourselves so we can talk a little bit here. Anybody else have any other questions? What do I do for closing gifts? I knew you were going to go there. It depends. And I struggled with this my whole career. So my dad owns a condo in Steamboat Springs. And for the bulk of his career, he actually gave a 3-day, 2-night stay away in Steamboat Springs. And that was a wonderful gift. If you have a vacation property that you are willing to share with your clients that's being professionally managed, that gift was like the best closing gift that people ever received. Bottles of wine are fine. I really actually like Harry and David's. People really appreciate them. They like getting stuff at home. I think they're nice. We do flag boards. So we have somebody that makes these cool flag boards, the Colorado flag and the US flag, and they're just kind of cool for the right buyer. Those are kind of neat. I have clients who like to drink, so I'll buy nice bottles of wine or nice bottles of whiskey. I'm not afraid to give them liquor. If I know they like to drink, I'll give them, wine. Sometimes I just do nice dinner gift certificates to the keg or to, places like this. And then just the usual shit, but the vacation is really, and Marlene Maxon in our office gives away experiences and people love that stuff. So sometimes I'm just trying to meet my clients where they're at and sort of, I meet the closing gift as it's sort of appropriate for the deal too. Back to the rebate, Allison says, can you explain why you give them a check overpaying on the settlement statement? Yeah, I did sort of explain it, but I'll explain it again. I actually like to take the commissions through the company for my award levels. So I can't get to Platinum Club at $250 in commissions if I've rebated $50 in commissions in my entire year or something crazy like that. And so I like to keep it on the settlement statement. I get paid and then I show it as a rebate on my P&L that I send to my tax accountant. Oh yes, that makes sense. Okay. I wish I could find one closing gift that works for everybody. I'm telling you, the vacation is the thing. I'm telling you, it works for everybody. So if you could get a little condo in Winter Park or a little condo in Steamboat that you guys can use, and then you could give them a certificate for 3 days and 2 nights in Steamboat Springs or in Winter Park or in Aspen or Vail or wherever like that, that stuff has legs for everybody. Do I ever add the rebate into the listing or the buyer agency agreement? It's ironic that you asked that. I think by the time I start discussing any kind of commission rebate with people, generally is on a handshake. Every now and again, I will write it into their buy. If I know they're going to sell first and buy second, I'll put it in their buyer agency agreement. This agent agrees to X rebate. But honestly, most of it's on a handshake. I'll say, hey, at the time of closing, as we discussed, I'll take care of it. I'll do it this way. And sometimes people will call and say, you remember that rebate we talked about? And I'll say, yeah. What did I tell you? Because if it's not written down, I'm in trouble. I have a suggestion for closing gifts. Go, Susie, unmute yourself. She doesn't want to. Maybe Susie,
No, I wasn't ready to be unmuted. Sorry, I just had coffee. And I'm coughing. No, thank you. And when I put it in the chat too. So I do some things that I found are really good, useful gifts. I have a great deal with a locksmith in Castle Rock, and I just send them an email. They contact my buyers. They do a rekey, and people love that. Yes. Cost me $150. It's nothing. Cleaning, move out and move in for my sellers. I always give them a deep clean move out. So I tell them when they are moving out and walking out the door, leave it, don't do a thing. And they think that's the best gift in the world. Right. Same thing for people moving in. As soon as we go to walk through, I put one of my lock boxes on with the key, and I have the cleaners come when we're finishing closing. And so when they go back to the house, it's clean. And I don't get phone calls afterwards about, hey, this looks like this looks like that. Your sellers didn't do this. I was tired of those, so I just get it done. And then I have a great handyman in Lone Tree that I've worked out a deal with, and I give 2 hours of his time. And if people want more time, then they can just add on to that. And people love that coupon. And so most of them use it. Sometimes they don't. So I only pay if it gets used.
Yeah, I love that so much. Those are such good, like, practical gifts too. Although, do people perceive them as a gift? I mean, do you present it as a gift? Yeah,
I do. I give a little handout when I give their card at closing. I do personalized blankets too, and people love those. The blankets go a long way. So, and I have pizza cutters, which are huge. People love the pizza cutters, which is crazy. But I give it to them, and I put it in my buyer packet. I have a buyer packet kind of like yours, and I say, here's my closing gifts I'm going to get you. And they're like, oh my God, really? You're going to rekey our locks and give us a cleaning and a handyman? And you don't have any worries about, nobody's asked me to reduce my commission on a buy side.
Right. No. I think that's just terrific. So you're following that sort of school of thought, y'all, like, just give the people what they want. Okay. I don't spend too much time on closing gifts. It's such a personal thing, but, okay. So the other thing that I had in the flyer that I wanted to talk with you guys about when I put this presentation together. Okay. But you're good on this for now. Unless somebody wants me to keep going on the consultation, we can, but I want to talk with you.
This is Sheila from Fort Collins. I have a quick question for you. First of all, if you can please share your buyer's package with us so we can customize it the way we are comfortable to present. And second thing, I want to know what's the software you use for CMA around Boulder, Lafayette area. I have 95% listing in Lafayette, and since the market is great, she wants to sell it, and I want to see, and I want to work with it. You know, I'm going to get all the resources I can get from my friend at Remax, at least that property, but I just want to know what is the software you use. That's all. Thank you so much in advance. I'm going to go to mute now.
You're welcome. So for our market analysis, I actually prepare part of the market analysis. It's in a book like this. And so part of it is preset. And then what I add to it is the comps, and I do an Excel spreadsheet. And so I do this standard package, which is my conversation about pricing, market conditions, how to compare your house against others, a competitive price line, picking your price, financing trends, things like this in the CMA packet. And then I do a loose schedule of events, some tips for showing the house, an important message about the value of your home. So we talk about all this stuff. But then I slide the comps and an Excel spreadsheet in. And the Excel spreadsheet for me is actually the adjustments on the market analysis. And I actually go into MLS, I export my listings out of MLS, and I import them into an Excel spreadsheet. And then I actually hand make some adjustments on there. So if my house has air conditioning and another house doesn't have air conditioning, I go through and I review each comp and make sure that I understand what their house has that our house doesn't. And I make those adjustments. And so I preset part of a market analysis, and then I add my specific or customized information into it. And then I put it in a nice presentation, and I go back for a second meeting with the market analysis. Does anybody want to talk about inventory shortage? Jump up and down if you do. Talk a little bit about inventory. Dwayne, yes. So Dwayne Duggan at Remax of Boulder put out a stellar article yesterday that if I had internet, I would share with you. And he talked about all the reasons why inventory is super low. And so here was sort of the summary of what he had said. We know inventory is low because we have a net immigration of people coming here. So we have more people absorbing inventory than we have people here. We have the biggest number of millennial generational buyers coming into the marketplace than even boomers. So the other thing we have to remember is that we have a huge demographic of people forming households right now. So the millennials are in their 30s now, and they are getting married and moving out of their parents' house or out of the suburbs. So you couple that. So with this net immigration of people coming here, we have lots of millennials buying houses. They're primed to form households. You couple that with low interest rates, which is one of the other factors. We could talk ad nauseum about each of these things. We talk about, thanks, Chad, I will do that. We talk about tax consequences. So the other thing we have to remember is, so one of the things Dwayne's article, and I'm going to pass the article to Kim and she can send it out to each of you. But one of the things that Dwayne marks in his article is that if you make more than $250 or $500 on a primary residence, you're taxed on what's beyond that. And if you take expensive real estate, like Denver real estate is getting to be, there's a chance somebody bought something for $4,000, for $40,000 in 1982, and it's worth $700,000 today. And in which case they're only exempt $500,000 as a married couple or $250,000 as an individual. And so he talks in his article about how some of that basis is actually hurting inventory because people who have to realize a huge tax consequence to sell their real estate are actually staying put longer. So that was an interesting thing I hadn't contemplated. He talks about 1031 tax deferred exchanges. I kind of thought that you would have some investors deciding just to get out of real estate to actually realize the gain in some of the Trump tax era tax amounts. And I do think that the people who are going to realize those gains have probably already done that, knowing that that future tax rates are probably going to go up. I'm not really an expert in tax, but that's sort of just the high level thought there. The other thing you have to remember is anybody who was working in 2008 to 2012, do you guys remember at that time, banks were basically selling off entire bits of their portfolios to like hedge funds. And so I have a friend, his name is Joe Junt. He's a hedge fund guy here. He's a former home builder. He runs a little company in central Denver. But basically, this guy owns like 300 or 400 units that were income properties that were bank-owned properties back in the recession, and they're all income properties for him now. He's not going to let those go. Are you kidding? He's getting like top dollar rents on this stuff. So these hedge funds actually still own a lot of inventory across America. Lawrence Yun cited that we need 1.5 million new builds per year just to break even in America. And that hasn't happened in a decade. So we have not been adding a new supply of inventory to America. It's not just Denver, it's everywhere. So we literally we are in a housing shortage. We literally do not have the housing units. The other consequence of that is that the municipal challenges, I look at Parker, where parts of town where Susie works. Do you know what the water and sewer tap fees are for a developer in Parker? It's crazy. And so that's just kind of interesting. Okay. Any other things about inventory that you guys want to talk about that feels interesting to you? All right. Chad wants me to talk about my idea of moving listings forward. So somebody said to me, like, how are we going to get our quality of life back in this business? Does anybody on this call feel like their quality of life is suffering right now? Like they're just working all night, working all weekend, and working all week and just like running themselves crazy? I think that's a very fair feeling about the market right now. And so here's what I would say to you guys. We are sort of self-perpetuating this as an industry, because we list houses on Thursday and then we show houses all day Friday and all day Saturday. And then we get lucky if nobody wants to see anything on Sunday. I know. Terry says she's glad it's snowing. She wants to do a puzzle and make bacon and stay home. And so do I. And so we self-perpetuate this in the industry where we list properties late in the week and then we work all weekend. My advice to you is to try and set your listings up to actually list them earlier in the week because inventory is so low. So Lisa Wright, who's my business partner, listed a property this week on Monday. So she turned it active on Monday. She showed it all day, afternoon on Monday, all day Tuesday, all day Wednesday. So 2 full showing days, which for us is Friday and Saturday. And she had it under contract with another RE/MAX Alliance agent on Wednesday afternoon. And she had a sick amount of showings during the week. So the thing is people are like, but my buyers work during the week. And my rebuttal to that is, yes, but my buyers ski on the weekends. So there's always going to be an excuse about why it doesn't work that you show listings at a different time during the week. But I do think that it would save the industry a little bit here, where as industry professionals, you know, I always jokingly say I'm running a business during the day and I sell real estate all night and all weekend. And so my hope is that as an industry, we kind of move that listing date forward a little bit, especially with the advent of very few open houses. I mean, open houses have their place in our industry, but they're just not the reason buyers are buying houses today. And most buyers who are watching the market with any consistency realize that they need buyer representation to be successful in this market. So there are very few unrepresented buyers in the marketplace right now. And so sitting in an open house, for me, humbly, just is not a good use of our time. I would actually rather you knock the 10 doors around a listing and say, you know, my name is Amanda and I have this house over here for sale. You know, Jeff and Patrice, they're moving. I just wanted to make myself available to answer any questions. If you see anything crazy or funny over there at the house, please don't hesitate to call. Here's my business card. Or I know maybe people don't want to touch something you hand them. So you could even say, you know, here's my numbers on the sign. If you need anything, please don't hesitate to call. That is better rapport building with the neighbors and people in the area. And if you're successful and sell that house super fast for them, the neighbors are going to be like, she was super nice and she sold that house super fast. I think I will call her if I want to move. And so I like actually round robin or door knocking better. I don't like obnoxious door knocking. So don't misinterpret. I don't want you to knock that door 4 times. I want you to knock the door once. I want you to take a big step back. And I want you to say, my name's Amanda and I just wanted to introduce myself. I just wanted you to know I was listing Jeff and Patrice's house. And I just be very authentic and very kind and stand off and stand back and give people space. There's a whole contingent of people that aren't answering doors right now, but door knocking is a good strategy as opposed
Amanda,
to.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Amanda, this is Kim. Not that I don't love all this stuff about listing, but I don't want to lose sight of the buyer portion too.
Mm-hmm. Well, we talked a lot about the competitive offer stuff. Do you guys want to talk about offers, writing offers? Yeah. Just waive it all. How's that for a tip?
You can share a little bit how you coach your buyers who are becoming unrealistic. Like I have some first-time buyers that keep making stricter parameters to where there's nothing with the parameters that they want.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I will tell you, this is the first time in my career where there's been a deep gut feeling like I couldn't help somebody. And that's a really terrible feeling, isn't it? I would say that all you can do is just give these buyers the information and let them have a few painful experiences weekend over weekend. And that is the only way they are going to decide if they want to play in this market and get to the top of the pile. The problem is if you don't articulate their alternatives for them, they may never buy. And so, you know, I have a buyer right now. She has a strong down payment, but she doesn't want to compete in multiple offers. So I say to her, that's fine. You can take your $300,000 down payment and you can spend $36,000 a year paying rent. Or you can take $100,000 out of your $300,000, borrow the rest at very small interest rates, and buy something and be in some cases half of a mortgage payment than she would be in a rent payment. You know, so you have to lay out the alternatives for people too. I think you have to show them if you go rent for $3,000 a month to buy something that you could be in a $2,000 a month payment on, like, that's good. And people need to understand that if they own something, even if they pay top dollar for it, if it's a break-even proposition or better, that's a winner. People keep saying to me that they need their real estate to be a good investment, not if it's your house. I don't talk about an investment with my primary res buyers. So I need them to understand that they need a place to live. We're talking about shelter, and that having a place to live that's affordable, even if it's a break-even proposition for them in the end. People are worried about this being top dollar and stuff. This might be the top of the market. This may be it, but they still need a place to live. And so I think you just have to keep these open dialogues. Kim, I can't see your face here, but do you have anything else you want me to address?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I had a little, I was working on your internet up there actually. So did you go through your buyer presentation, honey, that we had talked about from the previous session, where everybody wanted to kind of see your buyer presentation, where you sit down, your consultation, your buyer consultation?
Yeah, it's all together in that buyer seller book. Right. We talked about most of the components.
Okay, yeah, sorry, I was working on your internet.
That's okay. With the appraisals, I mean, here's the deal. We have gotten so set in our ways on this real estate contract as an industry that the real estate contract is so buyer favorable that we have to make the buyers understand that we are operating in a seller favorable market, and they have to write the contract so that it's seller favorable. And so the answer to that is the inspection is for the benefit of the buyer. Do you want to do an inspection for your benefit? If the answer is yes, and they aren't planning to object to anything because it's a seller favorable market, and the answer is if they just spent $50,000 trying to win a bidding war, what do we care if there's an $8,000 sewer problem? And I don't mean that the way it sounds, but really, is that actually a problem to have to go back into the market next weekend? Oh, by the way, MLS statistics last week, we had 2.93% appreciation in the Denver market in terms of price last week. So if people are fussing over a few $1,000s, you have to just get them to see it differently. You have to say, you just spent $50,000 bidding up the price of this house. The most consequential thing that could be wrong with it could be structural issues. If there are structural issues, you're essentially just giving them a blanket out by writing in a termination deadline. So I'd write in a 5-day termination deadline for inspection. I wouldn't write in an objection, and I wouldn't write in a resolution. You're just objecting to the inspection. Nikki Thompson, who's a broker of ours, just writes the word waived in. So she wrote in waived inspection. And that was as to say to the listing agent, I am waiving the inspection. You can also waive the appraisal. See, the appraisal, again, is for the benefit of the buyer. The lender requires the buyer have an appraisal, and it is for the benefit of the buyer that the appraisals are being done. The appraisal is not my seller's problem. With all due respect, market value says the house is worth X, which is what the buyer is paying for it. You're getting an appraisal because your lender is requiring it. And what I have found in these market conditions is if you push on people hard enough, they find money, they find a way to gap the appraisal, they find a way to buy PMI, they find a way to go to their grandmother's. If they need a house bad enough, they're going to find a way.
Hey, Amanda.
Yeah.
You mind if I jump in here real quick?
I can't see your face, but yes, go.
Yeah, this is Jim Franklin from Central.
Hi, Jim.
Hey, real quick, I talked to my lender and had lunch with him last week, and I said, listen, I got a couple of buyers, and we're hitting this appraisal problem. And I asked him, I said, I need you to find out if we can waive appraisal before I put the contract together. And he looked into it and he goes, Jim, I can make it happen. He had an answer to me within 24 hours. He goes, great idea. Let's make this roll out. So that's what we're doing, is actually knowing if we can waive the appraisal by the lender, because the lender has all that capability, and we're waiving it from the get-go.
Yeah, I mean, beautiful strategy. And the other thing is, even if they don't apply for, or if they don't qualify for an appraisal waiver, which is what you're talking about, which is sometimes their desktop underwriting systems allow them to pull the value of the house, the creditworthiness of the buyer, the down payment of the buyer. Sometimes those buyers qualify for an appraisal waiver. Then Chad sent me a chat, but I can't see it. Sorry, Chad. Amanda, can you remind everyone who may have not heard last week's panel about putting buyers in backup position? Yeah, I mean, so we'll finish up with this appraisal conversation, which is, I just think you need to waive the appraisal. And then if you waive the appraisal, you don't need appraisal gap language either. So people are like, well, I wrote a $50,000 gap. And I'm like, is the appraisal really going to come in 50 low? I mean, it might, but probably not. And so in which case, and I found that 90% of these appraisers are staying out of the way of a real estate transaction right now. Don't you think that's mostly true? I mean, we're all dealing with little nuances in our business, and appraisal problems are always part of them. But for the most part, with as hard and fast as the market is running, the appraisers have pretty much stayed out of the way. And so Chad was talking about reminding everyone who may have not been on the panel last week about putting buyers in the backup position. Again, I mean, so many deals are falling out. If you do not get the bid, write it with backup language and resend it straight away. And write it at the price you think they're under contract on. So like if I'm a listing agent and I list something for 500 and it goes for 550 and you try and send me a backup offer for 500, I'm not signing, my sellers are not signing that. I'll take another run at the market before I sign a backup offer at our asking price. But if you call the agent and say, did you get more than, are you at, and they're able to give you that number, write the backup offer at their price, because they'll put a backup contract together at 550 at that point. What else do you guys want to talk about with the multiple offer stuff? So we talked about moving the listing data. We talked about waiving inspection and waiving appraisal. I even waive loan termination. So here's the problem. If you waive the appraisal, but put a loan term deadline in, the listing agent, you can't pull the wool over the eyes of this Italian. Like I know that you have an out in the contract. That is technically an out in the contract. And so what you're trying to do is tighten all of your dates up into like a 7 to 9 day time frame. So if you want to have an inspection with a termination in there, that's fine. Do it in 5 days. And I'd call your inspector and get them on the schedule at the time that you're writing the offer. So I always have my inspector hold out a Wednesday afternoon slot for me. And I go to the listing agent and say, I've already got the inspection ordered for Wednesday at 2 o'clock. I waive the inspection. I explain to the buyers that, there is almost no item at this house that's going to cost more than it would for you to go back in the market next weekend. You can forget the health and safety stuff. That clause is garbage anymore. You can double earnest money. You can triple earnest money. You can make a portion of the earnest money go hard at the time of acceptance. So let's say, for example, you're putting a $10,000 earnest deposit up. You can make $2,500 of that earnest money hard at the time of acceptance. It's a very nice gesture for the seller. It pays next month's payment if something goes wrong. And again, if you're waiving some of those deadlines. So the other thing I want to say is if the deadline says not applicable in the date table, it makes the paragraph not applicable in the contract. So you have to remember, if you just leave the date table empty, the more white on the date table, the more favorable it is for the seller. Are we doing hard money in your contract? So Jim, I think I just answered that question, which is I'm just making a portion of the earnest money non-refundable. All right, Bill Doyle says, last week we talked about purchasing PMI as a part of the appraisal gap. Can you elaborate? Sure, you need to talk with your mortgage lenders about this, but essentially what they do is, let's say you have a 20% down conventional buyer, they qualify for 550. We are shopping those people in the 500 price point. So we're going back to the buyers and saying, great, you qualify for 550 and you're comfortable in a payment at 550. Let's shop between 485 and 500. So we're shopping in a price point where they can compete with up to 50,000, more than 10% of the asking price. So there have been weekends in the last 6 weekends where the market is showing 10 to 15% over the asking price. So you have to be able to get your people in a place where they're willing to pay somewhere north of 10% over the asking price. So figure that out in each price point. And then the appraisal gap essentially just covers that gap between the price, the asking price, and you're over the asking price. So if we're shopping at 500, we go under contract at 550. You can write a $50,000 appraisal gap in. If the appraisal comes in at 530, and that bumps your buyer below their 20% loan to value, their down payment, they can go into an 11% down payment. They have to buy a one-time private mortgage insurance from the lender. So that may cost them $3,000, but they can gap a $30,000 appraisal gap with only $3,000 in PMI. Some people are not willing to do this, but again, you have to be working with a very motivated buyer who understands this very well, and you need a lender who can articulate what this means for them. If the rising tide is raising all ships right now, then it's not going to be all that long that your buyer will make that money up in the way of appreciation. They may not be able to take advantage of these low rates, but in many cases, you can do what's called a recast. So a recast is a one-time principal payment that will allow the buyer to drop down below that PMI. So in some cases, they can recast their notes. So these are things that you'd want to know about. Yeah, FHA buyers, take them to a new build. So Craig Biesterfeld's asking what he should do with his FHA buyers. And my advice on FHA buyers is to take them to new builds. Okay. You ever hear the old saying, drive till you qualify? That basically means you just have to drive them until you can find a new build. Okay, what other questions did we have, you guys? We're about out of time. I wanted to talk to you about, I had so many other things. I wanted to talk to you about daily success habits. Let's do that really quick.
Yeah.
For me, this business is all about the art of consistency. You have to do the same things that will produce consistent results. So for example, I have people who say to me like, I have a farm, but I don't really do anything in it. Well, if you're not going to work the farm, there's no consistency there. Or I've done customer appreciation events once, but then I never did them again. Your customers, the people who know, like, and trust you, want consistency out of you. And so if you're going to do a Rockies event every summer, do a Rockies event every summer and plan it into the budget and make it work. If you're going to send just listed or just sold postcards, do it every time. If you're going to do things in this business, try and do them consistently. I talked to a broker yesterday who was at home, who's been working from home a lot. And she basically said, like, I'm trying to figure this business out right now. It's been harder than I've been in it a long time. It's been super hard. And, you know, I basically said to her, if you showed up to your office and worked from 8 to 5 every day, you could make $200,000 next year. And so I think part of the struggle in this business is people think it's okay to stay home and sell real estate. You know, RE/MAX Alliance as a brand has a lot of offices. Go into the office. Do not stay home and work. I mean, unless you are truly productive at home. And I certainly know there are people who can be productive at home. But if you get up, get dressed, comb your hair, and go into the office and work like you have something to do, you will start doing things consistently. You need to set time aside in the morning to prospect. That means what Verl Workman calls the 3-2-1s. Call 3 past clients, try and set 2 new appointments. And what's his one? And try and meet, I think it's set 2 new appointments and meet 1 new person, something like this. So, you know, these are the kinds of things that you have to do every day. Daily success habits for me are making my birthday phone calls, making my past home anniversary phone calls, sending emails out to my past clients, letting people who I have a portal set up with, I follow up with those people each week. So I send an email and say, hey, I noticed our portal search is still going out. Just want to make sure you're looking at those. Did you have any questions? Did you see that house on route? You know, just following up with people who are sort of actively watching their portal. I'm following up with my past clients with some bit of regularity. So we're calling people on their birthdays. We send handwritten home anniversary letters and notes with a bottle of wine as a gift inside. And so we're doing these things. The other thing that you need to be doing is if you are showing houses, attending listing appointments, attending buyer appointments, going to closings, making your birthday phone calls, you know, prospecting, picking up the phone, knocking doors, those are all a point system essentially. And if you can assign points to each of those activities and make it a game, then you may be more likely to follow through with them each day. So I would challenge you to make a list of the not fake work, real work, the tasks that you need to be doing each day, and then find a way to do them with some regularity. What else? What else is on your mind, guys? The last note I had here, so I'm using RealVolve for CRM. My team and I were having this conversation yesterday. There is not a good CRM solution in the market right now, unfortunately. The CRM solution that we are using, RealVolve, Realty Juggler, Constant Contact, Google, Excel, those are, you know, some of that stuff is not real contact management. Top Producer. So you want a real estate tool that actually knows real estate. So I would tell you to use a real estate tool. RealVolve is probably the closest thing in the market right now to sort of having a big picture, but there's a lot of duplicate entry, even in my business. I add somebody to CTM, I add somebody to RealVolve, I add them, you know, and that's just the nature of the beast. And I don't have it for you.
Yeah, the holy grail is integration, and you know, everybody has skin in the game. So the opportunity for it to actually happen is probably slim and none.
Well, for any of you that felt like this was disappointing because of my technology,
yeah,
I'd like to issue a sincere apology, because we can, and you know, I am generally a pretty good sharer, but I found in this, you can tell people until you're blue in the face what they should be doing, but a lot of times people don't do it. So my plea to you is write down your 3 or 4 ahas, things that you took away from this, things that were good, that you were like, I can do that, Amanda, and really focus on those, because you can't do it all, but if you do something, it's better than nothing.
Right. It's always, you can't eat the whole pie, just take pieces of it. And normally we would go around and say, hey guys, what are you going to go do? And I love Amanda's suggestion that you focus in on a few things and go and get them done. Do you drop the loan termination date?
Yes.
Okay.
I do. The loan term for the benefit of.
Thank you. And thank you to all you guys for giving up your time. There's always nuggets in, you know, that you can get. So Amanda's successful for a reason. She's a really hard worker. I'm going to tell you that. She works really hard. So you got to do that in this game. You got to work hard. So okay.
Yeah, and if you're struggling in this business, you need an attitude adjustment. So I'm here to tell you, change your mindset. Go at this from a place of opportunity. There's always opportunity in this business. And so dig deep, change your mind. We're all dealing with, you don't think I got hard shit in my life? I have hard shit in my life. I've got 3 young, I have a marriage. That's all that shit's hard. And I have staff that leaves and staff that stays. And, you know, we're all dealing with hard shit. So don't let that be your excuse. Change your mindset, you know, be in compliance with the laws of attraction, and there will be business. Okay. Those are my final words.
Okay. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, everybody. Safe out there. If the big Stormageddon comes, you never.
Maybe that's why that's down, Kim. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you.